All righty, welcome back to another episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Drinko. Good times and looking forward to the weekend in Oklahoma. Getting a transfer linebacker in the portal on Thursday evening. Oklahoma hosted another transfer wide receiver earlier this week. They're going after another offensive lineman, and OU also made a top 10 for a top defensive lineman in the country, and it is looking pretty good so far for Oklahoma. So let's just, I guess before we jump into it, did you guys see that the Adams Center is going down? They finally had their
They're all
ceremony.
going down, right?
Well, yeah,
I
one
didn't
at
see
a
it.
time.
One at a time.
So, yeah.
Brandon
Adams
didn't
is
even
going
care.
first.
He didn't appreciate the towers like we do, bro.
I know.
I didn't see it.
I'm just glad. I wasn't jealous about living in Adams because all you would ever smell is Cane's chicken, and
God, yeah.
I am not jealous of that.
You hate
I'm
Cane's?
going over there.
I do.
I like Cane's. It kind of was ruined though in college because all you would do is you would walk in there and smell it. So I lived in Walker.
Cane's has good sauce.
They do. Jose, you lived in Couch, right?
No, I lived in Walker. Walker 12.
Okay, yeah, you were Walker 12. I couldn't remember. Some of our friends were in Couch, but anyway. So, all right, let's just jump into it. Adams Center, RIP. But anyway, all right. So let's start with the transfer linebacker Connor Neer, two-time Division II national champion linebacker from Ferris Bueller State. He verbally committed to Oklahoma. It seemed like Michigan State was the early front runner in his recruitment to land his services, but Brent Venables and Ted Roof came in and swooped in and locked him down at 6'2", 236 pounds. I believe he had 66 tackles last year. He played well, and someone that I don't, we talked about it a little bit. I don't see him necessarily being a starter, but he's definitely a guy that is probably in the two deep. Behind like a Stutzman or a Kanik, one of the two. Obviously, Oklahoma felt like they needed to go get some more depth, and they did. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely good to add him for depth purposes. If we see him on the field, we might be in trouble because that means a lot of people got hurt in front of him. It'll be interesting how he's not even a guarantee for the two deep. He definitely has a long road ahead to get there. It seems like he would be the favorite. If you're going to bet on who's on the two deep right now, he would definitely have minus odds because of his experience. Looking at the linebacker room, assuming Stutzman and Kanik are the two starters. Behind those two guys, probably Witter and Kobe McKenzie. Maybe Lewis Carter comes in and really impresses and starts pushing for some time during garbage time. Maybe Samuel Masigo, like Kip Lewis. I think if Kip was the appropriate weight, he would even be challenging for some starting time. But because he is so light still, there's clearly still concerns from the coaching staff. Who knows? Maybe he eventually gets a shot at the cheetah position. I don't know. If he can't pack on pounds, I don't see him getting on the field, which is tough because I said he would be better than Kobe McKenzie, and I still believe that. He got on the field before Kobe did last year. So, I don't know. But for Connor, we'll see. Hopefully we don't see him on the field. But if we do, that means, he didn't stink. So that's also a plus.
I don't know. I mean, I agree that he's a veteran piece, probably used for depth. But at the end of the day, he's a two-time Natty champ. That says something. He's a GLIAC, Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference All-American. So, he brings some of that to the table. I think he can play a little bit. I agree with Brum that he'll be probably in the two deep just because of that experience that he's going to bring to the table. He's going to be a smart football player. I think he's going to be on the depth chart higher than a Kip Lewis, higher than a Kobe McKenzie, at least right away. I definitely see him in the two deep. But yeah, it's mostly a depth pickup. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. Maybe he can play some good special teams minutes this season. We'll see. It's always good to have more guys in the linebacker room, though.
Yeah, and the thing is, Jose, I don't even.
Did you
I don't
freeze
even
up
think
there?
it's a question if he's in the. I did. I froze up bad.
I figured I don't even know what's going on for a second. I
I
got
caught
scared.
what you said. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got you.
you're good.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know what's going on. I guess my internet's kind of acting like Jone's the other night, so I'm not sure what's going on. But
Optimal, you know
we're
what
talking
viewing
about
hours
the
right
depth.
now in your neighborhood.
It is. It's overloading it right now. But as far as the linebacker depth, Danny Stutzman and Kanek are the clear, top two number ones there. I don't think there's any question that Connor Neer is the second stringer. I think, with Kobe McKenzie and Kip Lewis, I think, Kip, as you alluded to already, was the weight. Kobe, redshirt freshman still, going in his red. I don't know how much he really contributes. And Shane Witter has been a guy that we've questioned. Can he emerge? Can he become that guy? And he's had some injury issues, and there's been some questions. And obviously, the staff has felt that way, where they're really young and they're not sure what they've got in Shane Witter. I think that not only does Connor come in and is second string, but I think he's a rotational player. I don't think he comes to Oklahoma to be second or third string, because he could have gone to Michigan State. So I just, not saying he's going to start, but I just see him probably playing more than maybe we really think, just because they're going to try to keep Stutzman and Kanek somewhat fresh. I don't know. That's just my thought, though.
Maybe if a
We'll
guy
see.
goes down, I could, because if there's one injury to that linebacker group, let's just eliminate Connor Neer, then you're down to three guys that the coaching staff clearly feels more comfortable with. So I don't really think there's a right or wrong here. He's definitely a depth piece. It's just where in the depth chart he lands. Is he a rotational guy? Is he just simply a reserve for just in case situations? That's just going to be something that time will tell at this point. But clearly, it's something that the coaching staff felt like they needed.
They did. So either way, it's always good to add talent. Can't complain. Seems like that Brent Venables is more active in the transfer portal than we probably have ever thought he would be, overhauling this roster. But before we continue with the transfer portal talk, we'll have to talk about Williams Winery putting out a top 10 2024 five-star defensive lineman, released a top 10 that included Tennessee, Missouri, Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Nebraska, and Colorado. So when you look at this list, naturally, obviously Oklahoma's up there, Tennessee's up there, Missouri's up there. Couldn't Oregon make it interesting? Maybe. There's a few schools on there. It just doesn't really seem like it's legitimate. But OU being in the top 10, I'm not 100%. I don't know what to really make. Like, I think Williams Winery can be a part of this class. Something makes me wonder if OU is going to be able to lock him down. And I kind of wonder if Tennessee is gaining ground here, and if maybe Oklahoma's not the leader at this point. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that they aren't the leader. It's just, the more I've sat back and really started thinking about it, it's really hard to put together a class thinking about it realistically. Williams Winery, David Stone, Nigel Smith, Joseph Ajone, and Xavier Sims. That's really hard to do and get all five of them. And personally, if there's one of them that OU could end up losing, I feel like it's Williams Winery. I'm not saying that they're going to. Am I crazy for thinking that? I still, even if they lost Williams Winery and they landed the other four guys, I'd be extremely excited. Brandon, what do you think?
You muted yourself.
I think David Stone's going to be a Sooner. I think we all agree on that. I think Joseph Jonah Ajanye is going to end up being a Sooner, and I think, like Joseph, when he was on the show, talked about, and when he was on the when Thune and Drum did a podcast, they were talking about the three of those dudes, Nigel Smith, David Stone, and Joseph Jonah Ajanye, hanging out and talking about how they want to play with these elite dudes. And I think Oklahoma is going to land four of the five, if not all five. I think they do want to play with each other, and I think Oklahoma is a good spot to do so. They talked about Coach Bates and how he's a great defensive line coach, how he can develop them into something. I think David Stone is the big one that Oklahoma hits on, and then it's like a domino effect. People are going to follow him, obviously, and I think you're going to end up with Nigel Smith and Joseph Jonah-Ajonye for sure. Those are the ones that I probably feel the most comfortable about. So I guess I agree with you if you don't get all of them. Xavier Sims and Williams Winery would be the ones that I'm the most concerned about at this point. But I do ultimately think Oklahoma lands Williams Winery, and that dude is a baller. So that would be this 2024 defensive line class. Any way you shake it, obviously you want to get all 5, but any way you shake it, it's going to be an elite class, and I can't wait to see whatever the final product is.
So we've talked about a few of them, but there's Dominique McKinley. I'm pretty sure this is the guy. He has an official setup for Oklahoma, another 5-star that OU has put their name in the hat for and is a serious contender for. Look, I am still on the boat where that Winery is going to be part of this class. It's been a while since he's been on campus. I don't think he went to the spring game, if I remember correctly, so it's probably been since March since he's been to OU. I think he went to Tennessee pretty recently, so at this point, the summer's going to be where OU has to shine to ultimately close this out and be the winners for Williams. I agree with you, Brum. If there was one at this point, honestly, I would still put Nigel Smith at 1 and then maybe Winery at 2 if there's going to be a list of guys that OU may not land from the seems like tens of elite defensive linemen that they're in. So you got Williams, David Stone, Nigel Smith, Joseph Jonah-Ajonye, this Dominique McKinley guy. I'm sure I'm missing someone else, but we've gone over like 10 to 15 highly rated 4-stars and some 5-stars. Like, if Oklahoma can land just one unit, four guys in this class that are 5 and 4, a mix of 5 and 4 stars, OU should be in a position where heading into the SEC, you're not concerned about the defensive line being the issue with the defensive line. They're not going to be great year one, but they're not going to be a huge liability as they've been in years past.
I definitely agree. Not that I'm trying to be negative or anything like that, but it's just sometimes I just think the longer, like, he hasn't been on campus in a while. I certainly hope, Tennessee hasn't been making a run. Maybe Missouri could, in Oregon. Anytime Oregon's on there, Alabama too. I mean, if Nick Saban's calling you, that's really hard to turn down. So I'm hoping, and maybe if he gets on campus for an official coming this summer, I'm guessing he'll probably be for the Champ U barbecue or in June. And if he shows up for that, it might be a whole different feeling at that point. Maybe he'll be in the class relatively soon.
The one good thing for OU with Winery is I don't think there's been any crystal balls of him leaning towards Tennessee. There's just been buzz about it happening, and maybe Steve Wiltfong is still leaning OU, but is just saying like Tennessee is right on their heels. OU just has to widen that gap again, and the summertime is just right around the corner. We'll see when he can get on campus again.
Definitely. So before we continue moving on, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. All right, so let's continue our transfer portal talk. It seems like Oklahoma is going after about every position in the transfer portal. Earlier this week, OU hosted a wide receiver from Colorado, Jordan Tyson. He's a 3-star coming out of high school. He went up to Colorado last year as a freshman, caught 22 passes, 470 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Playing for a team that won one game, not great, and he really came on in the last couple of games that he did play in and reported. Like Oregon, he had 5 catches for 137. Arizona State, 5 catches for 115. So he really played well, as a true freshman, despite the dysfunctional program there. And whenever he tweeted out, that he was in Norman, a video or whatever, and we quoted it and tweeted about it and put it on Instagram, there were people that naturally said, why is Oklahoma recruiting anything from that program? Like, why would Oklahoma ever stoop to that level, basically? Well, every program and every team that doesn't win a lot of games, there are talented players on there. I mean, it takes more than one player. I mean, one player doesn't win you 12 games in college football. And he obviously, him and a bunch of other people there with, Coach Prime being there, felt like it was an opportunity or they needed to leave. So I think he's a really good player. I think it's something that Oklahoma fans should be excited about. Now, if they're only going to take one, could there be an argument that Keon Coleman might be more of an exciting prospect? Maybe. But at the end of the day, either one of these guys, and Tyson, from my understanding, is the only one that's visited as far as the portal goes, I would be happy with Tyson. Jose, do you have some thoughts on Tyson?
Well, first of all, that was a very nice way of saying that Colorado team last year was fucking terrible. 1-11 isn't just not very good. It's very, very bad. Jordan Tyson, though, was not one of the problems. I would agree there. And there's a connection there with him being from Allen. He played with Mike Hawkins. He was just a freshman last year, so he will have probably at least 1 year with Mike Hawkins. Probably. Assuming that he were to land at Oklahoma and uses his entire eligibility. I think I would be one of the guys that would assume Keon Coleman is a better fit. But Jordan is the only one that has visited. And at this point, it's hard to imagine that Oklahoma doesn't try to wrap up this transfer portal addition cycle, whatever you want to call it, pretty soon. And if Keon doesn't end up visiting Norman and Jordan does feel comfortable and they'll use the leader there, then why not just go ahead and pull the trigger, be part of the team. It's a wide receiver room that is talented and as much potential as there is in there. He would be one of the more experienced guys, right behind Jalil and Drake. He brings the most experience outside of the guys that are returning from last year. Jaden doesn't have much experience playing, in the fall. Nick Anderson definitely doesn't have any. Brendan Thompson, as excited as we are about him with the speed that he has, didn't play much for Texas. He didn't put up very many stats for Texas. I guess that's a better way of putting it. And you still have your freshman there, right? So if he could bring something that Oklahoma feels like they need, which is pass catching, when a lot of fans are very concerned about that after the spring game, then why not? I don't think you should say that you don't need him because he was at Colorado. That just seems like people are hating on Colorado rather than looking at what Jordan could potentially bring to Oklahoma.
I love it. I think this is a position group that I talked about being one of the thinnest on the team. And then you add Brendan Thompson for sure, and now you can potentially add a Jordan Tyson or a Keon Coleman. Either one I think would be a great fit. With Jordan Tyson, you look at the numbers, 21.4 yards a catch on 22 catches. I love that. The dude's averaging 2 first downs a catch, granted in a short sample size. But Brummy, you mentioned the Oregon game. The one, they played the number 8 team in the country at the time, Oregon. I think they lost like 54-10 or something because, like Jose said, they were dog shit. But he was the one bright spot in that game, you can say, with 137 yards and a touchdown, and one of that being an 81-yard play. So, he showed he can do it against high-level competition. And very, very young, just coming off his freshman season. I think there's a lot to work with there. I think he's a guy that could almost get to campus and push for playing time immediately. I think, again, the only spots in the receiver room, in my opinion, that are safe is Jalil Farouk and Drake Stoops. Outside of that, I think it's a borderline free-for-all. And I think now you've got plenty of bodies in that room if you are able to land Jordan Tyson with, Jaden Gibson, Brendan Thompson, Jordan Tyson, hypothetically, Nick Anderson, the list goes on. But I think now you've got a legitimate competition to fill out the receiving core, and there's some good bodies there. I think that receiver room went from, in my opinion, the thinnest on the team to one of the more stacked positions on the team, if you can add a Jordan Tyson.
That, and then also we can't forget about Andrell Anthony that Oklahoma got from Michigan. So he's there as well. And now, if I got to pick between Keon Coleman and Tyson, I might pick Coleman. Coleman's just a little bit bigger. But wouldn't it be great if we got both? But I don't think that'll end up happening.
Both.
But yeah, that'd be the way to do it. But anyway, so another component of Tyson is his brother Jalen Tyson, the guard from Texas Tech. He's in the portal as well for basketball. Oklahoma seems to be interested in him. It'd be kind of cool to be a package deal, whether that happens or not,
The Hoops team needs plenty of help too. So yeah, come on out. Although Porter's doing a pretty solid job so far the offseason, boys, with the portal.
He's been adding some quality talent, and I'm not saying that Oklahoma's going to win a national championship in basketball, but they're going to be better than they were
They
last
won't.
year. Jose
hates Oklahoma basketball. He's hated it since the dawn of time.
Bad. They were bad. Now, don't get me wrong. I think they will at least compete for the NIT. At least. Might even get to the dance. But they're not winning a national championship next year.
Well, no, I never said that they're going to win one, but they're going to be competitive, and they're going to be better than they were last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's pretty easy to be better than last year, I would say.
They were kind of competitive last year. They lost a lot of close games.
Do you think Porter Moser's a good coach, Jose?
Yeah, I do. I think that last year he dealt with a lot of rotational problems because at the end of the games, guys were gassed. Every game I watched, the guys were just tired and couldn't make a bucket for large stretches.
He's hated OU basketball since we were in college. He hated Eddie Heald. He hated Lon Kruger. No,
I love Lon.
He hated the whole team. He's always hated OU basketball. Hated Trae Young.
The only blasphemy of that sort I'll take is maybe I didn't like Trae Young most of the time, but I acknowledge he was talented.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm not saying that if one comes, Jordan Tyson shows up, that means Jalen Tyson shows up as well. But it'd be nice to get a package deal like that, and if they were interested in playing together. So, because Porter Moser could definitely use the help, and that's for sure. So, moving on to another transfer target that Oklahoma's working on is Troy Everett, offensive lineman from App State. He is he's an interior offensive lineman. He's got multiple offers right now. Played last year as a redshirt freshman for App State. I think his natural position is center, if I'm remembering correctly. But Oklahoma's looking to convince him to pick OU. It seems like it's an OU Virginia Tech battle here. And at the end of the day, can Oklahoma sell him on the development? With Coach B, I don't think that should be a hard sell. The problem is it's attractive to maybe go to another program that you can play immediately. But that doesn't mean, just because you're playing doesn't mean you're going to, it's going to be good playing time for you and you're going to be a first round or second or third round pick. I mean, Coach B had a first rounder and a third rounder this year. You come here, you could be the next first rounder, and you might not play much next year, but you could sit and wait. And you could be in 2 years. And I think that's probably the hardest thing to sell to someone and making the decision is I can go play now for sure, or I could potentially play in a couple of years just to learn under this coach. And it's hard to not have that instant gratification, but when you really sit back and think about it, it's kind of worth it. And Jose, I will say, his name you should delete the E at the end of his name, because someone's going to comment in our
I was going to say the same thing
below and say what are you guys doing? But Brandon, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, bro. I think in terms of your pro career, I think for any offensive lineman, I've said this multiple times on the show, there's no better coach in the planet to play for in terms of college football than Coach Bill Bedenbaugh. So I think long term, you're better to come to Oklahoma, sit for a season, and then potentially push for starting time. Because I think he's that good. His track record is so proven. And for a team standpoint, anytime you get a 6'3", 280-pound interior lineman for a potential depth piece is always a great thing. So I definitely hope Troy Everett makes the move and calls Norman home. I think it's better for him, but obviously that's biased. But again, you're right, Roman. It's hard, I think, to be a kid and know you might have a chance to play now somewhere else, and to make that decision to sacrifice a season of playing. That's a lot to ask. But I mean, I genuinely think, in terms of playing professional football, if that's what Troy Everett wants to do, I think Oklahoma is the best place to accomplish that.
I'm surprised there's not more SEC schools going after this kid after him and his teammates beat the shit out of Texas A&M last year. And it is mainly due to the offensive line and how well they played. They managed to keep the running game going. They kept their drives alive. For Oklahoma, it kind of shows that they're concerned with the interior of the offensive line and its depth. I don't know if it's any specific individual, but after you look at the starters in the interior, assuming Andrew Rame is still the center at the starting position, you have McCade Mettauer and Savion Byrd on the inside. After them, we saw it in the spring game. It didn't look pretty after the first unit, and the first unit was pretty hurt even still. So Troy would be, I would say, is a very necessary piece of anyone that we've talked about in this video and anyone in the transfer portal that Oklahoma is offering. Troy and any other offensive lineman, really, especially in the interior, probably the most important pieces to get, because that depth is not terrible, but is very inexperienced. Look at Joshua Bates. As excited as we are about him, I think they're trying to get him to be kind of like a Robert Conjol, where he was able to go from one side of the line to the other and the guard position, and was able to play center a little bit. But that takes some time, especially for a high school player to be able to transition so quickly. That's pretty impressive that Conjol was able to do that, and I don't think we as fans acknowledge that enough sometimes. So if Troy ends up at Oklahoma, I think it would be the best decision for him, like you guys said, and it might sound biased, but we saw this last draft. Coach B got 3 guys in the NFL, 2 of them drafted, if I remember correctly. So even if he doesn't start this year, he has an opportunity to be a very good player for Oklahoma if you were to choose OU. And under Coach B, you are going to get a chance at the NFL. After what Andy Reid said, I think it was on the NFL Network, when they were talking about Wanya Morris and why they picked him, he praised Coach B basically and said they developed those guys well and they get ready for the NFL. That should make Oklahoma's path to getting these really good offensive linemen significantly easier.
It definitely should. I mean, at the end of the day, if your objective is to come and go to the NFL, Oklahoma provides you that opportunity along that offensive line. So, and other positions, of course. But so that's all I've got. A lot of transfer portal updates and a top 10 and a commitment. I don't have anything else unless you guys have some final thoughts, and if Brendan wants to just roll into the end of video challenge.
Oh, do you got any last thoughts, or are you ready for it?
Nah, I think you're good.
All right, so this one I was excited to do. I was going to do it Tuesday. The last episode we dropped, but we obviously got Joseph, Jonah, Johnny on. So anytime we have a guest on, the end of video challenge is always just to talk about that player, that recruit, whatever. But Tuesday of this week, OU football dropped a video of the team out there playing paintball, having a good time. So then I posed a question on Twitter: name 5 Sooners, current or present, that you would like to play paintball with. And it got 5 or 6 pretty solid responses. So I've had all day to think about it. So I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield, Brian Bosworth, Jackson Arnold, CeeDee Lamb, Adrian Peterson, because I want to have one current player. Baker Mayfield's my favorite player of all time. Brian Bosworth, I just feel it would be an absolute blast. CeeDee Lamb, I think is OU's best receiver ever, and I'm a big CeeDee guy. And Adrian Peterson's Adrian Peterson. I think that would be just the dream 5 to play paintball with. So it's a tough end of video challenge because there's so many names that come to mind. But who are your guys 5?
Are they on my team, or am I also playing against them?
You're with them, or you can alternate. I don't know. It's just a day of paintball. You can figure it out.
Okay,
you got those 5 with you, though.
You want to go first, bro?
No, you go ahead. I was thinking.
All right, so I'm thinking shifty. So I need Hollywood Brown. He's going to be hard to get. I'm going to take Adrian Peterson because he's my favorite Sooner. Bosworth, not because he's shifty, but because he's going to be a good time. We've got to have the vibes up. I'll take. Think of another shifty running back. Joe Mixon. Who else? Thinking of a burner. Dede Westbrook.
So
What
no,
am I at? Is that
no
5?
current Sooners on your 5.
No current Sooners.
And I feel like the way you're building your team, I feel like Kyler Murray would have fit in just fine. He's kind of a smaller target
Kyler
that
Murray,
also
that's
moves at rapid speed.
Have I finalized? Did I name 4 or 5? Because
Name
if I still
5.
haven't, do I have another spot or no?
No, but you can swap it on if you want.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to say screw the vibes. I'm going for the dub. Bye, Boz.
Yeah. I was going to say K1 for sure. K1. I think Gerald McCoy. I know he's a big target, but I think Gerald would, as far as vibes go, I think he'd be good. And then as far as current player, I think a guy like Peyton Bowen would be good on the team. And then, so that's 3. I would take Bosworth as well, and then I would take Hollywood. Have some speed, have some bigger guys. Just have a good time.
This should be a good end of video. I'm excited to see the comments on this one.
Definitely. Someone's going to come up with some like a really good idea and a really good reasoning why they're going to pick each person, and they're going to take some time and more than just Jose and I. Brandon had all
we
day.
had 30 seconds. That dude had all day.
Well, I create the end of video challenges.
True.
I knew it since Tuesday.
True. You actually had like 48 hours, 72 hours to come up with it.
I had to have 6. I had to have Boz. And just make it up.
All right. Well, if you've made it this far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. And we will catch you guys next week.